The bird.
Welcome back to the coverage of YCS Düsseldorf 2019. This is tournament number 1 because we broke the attendance record this morning. There's a second tournament taking place in the Hilton at the same time. They are already done with round number 4, even though they started way past us. We are now hitting round number 7. We continue to have great players in our feature match, some of the most accomplished names. For this round we have 2 regulars at the feature match table. Also, one of them actually was in the finals. You won a YCS before, if I'm... Yes, you did. So let's bring him in the red corner from the UK, it's Xiao. Hey, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing well, thank you.
You played against your friend at YCS Brighton in the finals, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's correct.
And that was a couple of years back. Then we didn't see you for a little while, and then you basically came back. I think we saw you in Utrecht or something?
I came back in London. Unfortunately, I had to skip Utrecht, so that was unfortunate.
But you had a very good result there as well. So what was it like to not play for a while, you come back, and then suddenly you're doing pretty well again?
To be honest, London surprised myself. I surprised myself at London. I wasn't expecting to take the deck that far, but the deck worked out great, and it was a new iteration of the deck that just happened to be really good in that format.
All right, so did you also bring something special for today? Of course, don't give away your deck type, but are you happy with your preparation for this event and the deck you picked?
To be honest, I'm very happy with the deck. This is something my teammate Alec Drinkwater came up with, and I'm so happy he shared it with the team, because right now I'm really enjoying this deck. It's great. It's a great deck to play, and depending on how I draw, it's going to be a great match for the viewer to watch.
Oh, okay. So the expectations are going up. So you're now going up against Christos Mourikis from Greece. How are you feeling about your chances in the feature match against him?
Like always, 50-50.
Right. Please have a seat. Thank you very much. So his opponent, we just gave it away, Christos Mourikis from Greece. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing quite fine. How are you?
Me too, me too.
You're one of the Greek players that always comes super prepared. All of you guys are doing really, really well. What is your secret? What's making Greece like the center of Yu-Gi-Oh! In Europe?
Well, we are a small community and we prepare all together. That's the
big secret.
Yeah, and we prepare very hard all together.
All right, so I take it you also came prepared for this tournament. You did a lot of playtesting. Are you happy with your deck choice?
Yes, I'm super happy with my deck choice. Yeah.
All right, and how are you feeling about playing in the feature match in the bright lights on the big stage?
I'm a bit comfortable with it because I've played another 2 or 3 times, I think.
Okay. So, what do you feel about your chances? Is it more than 50%?
Oh, 50-50 always.
50-50, okay. Let's go. Please have a seat as well. Both these guys, diplomatic. If we need some diplomats, they are the guys to go. So please roll the die and see who's going to go first. Got 2 dice. That's a 3 with 2 dice. You did a high roll? Okay, and that's a 4. So do you want to go first?
No, second.
No, you
second.
don't want to go first. All right. So Christos is not going first. Xiao is going to go first. That's some news from the table here. Let's take you to the commentary with Daniel Neville and Marcello Barberi.
Welcome to round 7 of the largest European YCS ever. We have 2 incredibly accomplished players. These guys have a lot of experience. They most likely know what each other are playing because we're late enough in the tournament that they've probably been sitting beside each other. We see Christos as shotgunned second, which is quite interesting.
And that's probably a tell that he already knows what his opponent is playing.
Exactly.
And something that we can say immediately is that Ping is playing 47 cards.
Yes, he
which is something that also might give away what kind of deck, at least roughly, he is playing. And yeah, as you said, they're both players that have been around the game for a lot. Ping won back in YCS Brighton a lot of years ago. And I played both of them at the European Championship. I played Christos when I won, and then Ping this year on the bubble. So I also know them like up close, yeah. And they're definitely really good players. They don't panic usually, and they have been on stream and regularly.
They have such a good understanding of the game.
Exactly.
And how their cards work and how they interact. And we can probably see that with how Christos is chosen.
Yeah.
As it is, the guys are mic'd up.
Yeah.
So we can now discuss. So Xiao is playing the Orcust deck. We've seen versions of this earlier in the tournament.
Yeah.
This is the build that Bros have arrived to the event with. And it's different to what we've seen previously. It's closer to the list that Dinkabui is playing. In that it's a list that is happy to go first. Now, as it is, Against Christos' Sky Strikers, it's actually a more difficult matchup.
Definitely.
Christos has Ghost Reapers in the main, but he doesn't have the Evenlies that we see in the going second builds generally. So I presume he is
That's
often
why,
going
yeah,
for first.
I'm inclined to think that Christos wants to go first, but he just added the tail, especially because he doesn't really have any target for the Winter Cherries in this matchup. He definitely doesn't want to see them. And we gotta say that compared to the Dinkabui deck list, Ping, sure, can go first, but the only play is Azathoth. He doesn't have the Epidemic Virus.
He can end on Azathoth Double Fogblade.
Yeah, which, though, as you said, against Sky Strikers, that's what I meant.
It's
It's not like an
effective,
Epidemic Virus that deals both with monsters and with spells or traps. But as I said in the past, the Orcust is my favorite deck at the moment, at least even by watching it or playing it. So I'm excited to see how it goes.
It's a really interesting engine, and this is definitely a different build to what we've seen so far.
Okay, I think we're ready, so let's just add to the match. Nice handshake. So now Space Connector is there, and it's always good to see it, but we saw how good Ping deck is going second with his end. He has Kaijus in the main deck, Punker Ups in the main deck, all cards that are incredible for going second.
We see a Dolphin. The Dolphin can possibly hit the Sky Striker Ace Ray here, which would be quite relevant. Being able to deny the Striker player his Ray. He does have Hornet Drones, however, which means he will have access. But it does mean that he has less options.
Yeah.
Shared Ride also indicates that Christos is playing for going first. Shared Ride is really good.
Yep.
As a going first card, it's much less effective.
That's what I was thinking, so I'm pretty sure he knows what Ping is up to.
So Ping has taken a look at his hand. He discarded one of his Kaijus. He has so many that he doesn't really need them here.
Yeah.
But he knows that it's safe to go. He is just going to do whatever he wants to do.
Exactly.
He has two monsters. He's going to make a Nightmare. Then he's going to go down into Mermaid. And he's going to start his Orcust combos, right?
Yes.
And again, this is what we're seeing. Like, you can open up 0 Orcust cards, and you still get access to your Orcust combo. He knows he's against Sky Striker, so Cerberus isn't very important, whereas Nightmare Phoenix is a much more valuable resource.
He is also playing the Danger Chupacabra, which is one of the least played, I would say.
Yes.
And it does make sense, because it's also level 4, and with this deck you want to be able to abuse level 4s for Time Thief.
Yes, exactly. It gives you access to Redoer, and Redoer is one of your most important cards. We're going to banish Orcust Nightmare, targeting Galatea. We're going to summon Harp Horror from our deck.
Yeah, and this is the usual combo we've seen. Something worth mentioning that is quite unique about Ping deck is that he's playing 3 copies of Harp Horror, because he wants to have the same play also next turn, which while in the other decks we've seen the Orcus more of a one-shot kind of play.
So this list is different in that it's definitely it's designed so that it can Azathoth turn 1, and then you have enough resources for turn 2 that you can apply pressure and just go for a Boral Sword. And the idea is that in this current format, if you go Azathoth against the Danger decks, they can't do anything. And so you just shut them off their play for a turn, and then they don't have a board to contest you. We see World Legacy World Wand come out from the Summon Sorceress. This means we have enough materials to make Phantom Knights of Rusty Paradise.
And now we're going to go the search for the Orcust return.
Yep. So what are we thinking about Christos' hand here? He has Shared Ride, which isn't doing anything.
I mean, it doesn't look like it's an amazing hand, but it's gonna depend on Ping, because he's still gonna be able to go for some Link, but Azathoth is gonna be a problem, and they usually end with the Time Thief that is able to spin 1 as well.
Yeah, and Rusty Paradise will also be able to destroy a card on the field.
So it's not like Ping has to flip it right away. At least against Sky Strikers, because... So let's see.
So he's sending Cloak, and he is adding... or he's setting Shade Brigandine. Shade Brigandine, again, this is a card that we're seeing constantly at this event. Because if you're playing the Phantom Knights, you're going to play it. And then he's banishing his Cloak in order to search the Phantom Knight's rank of Magic, which will let him upgrade his Redoer into Azathoth.
Exactly.
Because, you know, you time travel too much and eventually you just become an elder entity. It's
Apparently.
hate when that happens.
Yeah.
So-
Christos takes a read, and yeah, something important we should mention is that the rank up spell can only be used during the main phase.
Yes.
So even if it is a quick spell, your opponent has the priority to activate anything in the main phase. So it is weak to cards like Denko Sekka. So
Yeah.
just something you should keep in mind when playing against such a deck.
Twin Twisters are pranker tops.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
Apparently, that's what they say.
Have it on good authority.
Yeah.
So Redoer is going to activate his effect here.
Okay, do you think it's correct?
He detaches all of his materials. Yeah, so it means that he'll come back in the standby phase, and so immediately in the main phase you're
Yeah.
ready to go.
Do you like this though? Or would you rather keep the materials for next turn?
This is what they agreed on in testing, from what I
Okay.
understand.
I would say it's correct in most matchups. I'm not sure about the Sky Striker one.
The problem is if the striker player draws Widow Anchor here, then if you tried to
That's
use
true.
the effect in standby phase, you don't have access to Azathoth. Whereas here at the moment, Azathoth means that you can turn
Yeah.
off Hayate.
Because I think Time Thief is one of the few XYZ in the game where detaching is not cost.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
probably like one of the only ones.
It's really interesting templating for a card
Yeah.
where it detaches on resolution. So we see the normal summon. Immediately on the normal summon, we're going to activate
Yeah.
Rank of Magic, and then he's going to chain his Raise effect.
Yeah.
It's not super relevant. We're going to target Time Thief with Eagle Booster, and that is very relevant.
Nice.
That makes it unaffected by the effect.
That's super relevant. We can bring it out on screen. The thing is, does it work? Because I know, like,
Because
with
it's materials.
XYZ Anchor, like for example, XYZ Anchor was an out for number 86. Because outside of targeting it at the beginning, then it was about the materials and not about the card itself. That's why you could out number 86. And it seems like it could be something very similar to the...
Yeah, I'm gonna double check the card text of the card.
Yeah.
Because
I'm pretty
is
sure
quite
they're,
relevant.
yeah, they're gonna appeal to the edge judge because they seem like
Yeah.
they're both unsure about the situation. So
Because if it was a fusion summon, it would be fine. Because
Yeah.
you know, we know that fusion spells do it by card effect. So it's during your main phase, target one Dark Xyz you control with no Xyz materials. Special summon from your extra deck one Dark Xyz that is one rank higher than that monster you control by using it as an Xyz material. I am not actually sure the ruling on this.
I would say it's quite different from...
The fact that you're using it as a material suggests that you're not necessarily affecting the card.
yes, but the difference between Anchor is Anchor actually, like, kinda regards the materials of the XYZ, while this one has to... So I would say it's different. So I would say the Eagle is able to negate it. Because there is a big difference. Because with XYZ Anchor, the reason why you can is because you don't care about the XYZ itself. You just care about the materials. While here, since it has to be also a level higher, like the XYZ matters a lot more
Yeah.
than the materials. So
Well, it's a card that creates a summon, and it's just whether or not that summon
Yeah.
is tied to the card.
But let's see. We can just wait on that judge decision, and it's definitely something relevant, because at that point, Ping knew about the Eagle Booster, so
Yeah.
could have played
mean,
around that. But
can
he's
you play
gonna
around
learn.
it?
I mean, if you knew about it, then you can just kept the materials underwards. At least you have a spin.
I mean, you can interact it that way.
But
yeah.
I mean, we have to be honest and say we are not even completely sure on that. So you never know. I mean, at the end of the day, you learn an important lesson for the remaining of the tournament.
And you learn a bit more about how the game itself functions, which
Yeah.
I always find fascinating.
For sure.
Um,
And to be fair, it's not super relevant because it only matters if they outdraw the Eagle Booster, which is not something that happens every time, but is really good to know. So let's wait on the decision.
so I just got confirmation here. These guys, one's on Team Cerebros, and the other one is on Northern Card Gaming,
Okay.
which are the two Irish teams in
Okay.
EVO, so we have a little bit of
You
north
can
and
be
south
proud. You
action
can be
going
proud
on.
as a fellow
Yeah.
Irish player or the judge.
Neither of the players
actually.
themselves are Irish,
Yeah.
but
Oh well.
it's close enough. It's close
Yeah.
enough. We don't get our flag about often at these events, but yeah. So, what's your feeling on this matchup in general? From what I've experienced,
Yeah.
again, I think like I've played Striker against us quite a bit testing last weekend, and I think it's a pretty 50-50 matchup.
Yeah.
I slightly feel that Striker is a bit ahead, but I think when winning the die roll and depending on how familiar the Striker player is with the matchup, that can have a
Exactly.
lot of impact.
I feel it matters a lot. Like Christos' decision to go second might just be game winning. So I would say the matchup is quite close, but it also really depends on the knowledge. Because as we say, ping deck going first doesn't interact that much with Sky Strikers.
Yes.
So it's close.
And
It's
we
a
know
close
that
matchup.
his other set card is just Orcust Return, which isn't going to do much.
We can
here.
just show it if it comes up. No, it's basically just you can use it.
So you can send an
Yeah.
Orcust monster and a World Legacy card from your field or your hand to the graveyard and
Yep.
draw 2 cards.
And you draw two. Yeah, as straightforward as it gets.
Which is fine. It's a perfectly good card.
It seems like a lot of Greek players are on the Sky Striker.
Yeah, I like
Terrain.
Sky Striker for this event.
Yeah.
I think it's like it just has solid matchups. You're afraid of the people who are playing kaijus, and we saw that Ping was playing
Yeah.
kaijus. I believe he still has a Radiant in his hand. Yeah, he has a
Yeah, he
Radiant
does.
and a Pancratops. So
Okay.
it looks like
It looks like I was right, so it doesn't resolve, and that's a huge deal because now,
it puts
as you
Christos in a good
yeah,
position.
and because there is no more interruption, so
I mean, he still is in an awkward position in that he is going to have multi-roll +1 engage.
Yeah.
So he's going to end on double Widow Anchor. Or Widow
we
Anchor
gotta
plus
check
Shark
what's
Cannon.
in Ping Grave as well because he might be digging for like Shark Cannon depending what he needs.
Yeah, so Ping has a Harpower engrave, and he should have shuffled back his symbols when he summoned Galtea. So that should be his current situation.
So you might just want to get rid of that, you know.
Of the Harpower, yeah, I could see an argument for that. He still has an access to a lot of things. Ping will probably want to try... He can Kaiju, and then he can Trisbayana. And he can burn through all of the advantage that
Definitely.
Christos is putting out.
Trisbayana is such an incredible card.
Trisbayana is
Yeah.
terrifying in this matchup.
Yeah.
There are certain cards that you see them and you're like, ooh, that's spooky.
Yeah.
And Trisbayana is one
Trisbayana
of
is
those.
definitely on top of them.
It's something that I really like about the Top Logic cards is they have such interesting effects. Like, we don't have Harpy's Feather Duster in the format, but
Yeah.
Trisbayana says if you're willing to throw a monster away, you can get a Harpy Feather Duster style
Exactly.
effect.
So he decides to search Afterburner instead. So he wants to get rid of some of the pressure right away.
Yeah, which is reasonable. Yeah, Afterburnering the Summon Sorceress here is fine. Summon Sorceress doesn't actually generate advantage in this deck.
Yeah.
She's done her thing. Her thing was just getting the World Legacy 1 from the deck.
Mm-hmm.
So I would actually have hit the Redoer there, because Redoer becomes a problem card in this matchup, I think. Like, Redoer, if it's not dealt with here, is going to draw Ping a card
Yeah.
and pull a card out of Christos' deck. There could be an argument for not doing it if you thought Christos was going to get too many spells in graveyard, but he already has his threshold.
Yeah.
So all of his
no
striker
reason
stuff
not
is gaining its value. Yeah. I'm really excited to see what direction this game goes in, because
Yeah.
I think it's a
It's
really
definitely
close
still close.
match. Yeah. So we're going end phase Shizuku effect. Ping Xiao is checking his graveyard. So that's the difference that we see with this 47 card build, is if this were the traditional Orcust decks,
Yeah.
he'd be really stuck now because he's expended most of his resources. But he has the Harpower, he has a lot of stuff that he can start going for a turn 2 play here. We see a Widow Anchor searched. I think I would be on the plan of
Using it right away. Yeah.
I think I would be more comfortable having Shark Cannon plus Widow Anchor.
I mean, he might
Because
just
you Shark
go-
Cannon and clear the Harp Horror.
Yeah, I know. The thing is, with the Eagle Booster, unless they have a Kaiju,
Sure.
you can't, like, they can't get deal. So let's see.
And you saw your opponent discard a Kaiju, so do you anticipate that they have another one?
Yeah,
So,
that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
So now,
Redoer takes Eagle Booster.
okay.
He's interacting with Eagle Booster a lot this
Yeah,
game.
exactly.
Um,
Love and hate relationship.
I love Eagle Booster as a card in this format. Yeah, Blind Eagle Booster seems completely reasonable. There are situations in this format where Blind Eagle Booster leads to you losing the game.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the train deck that's kind of chugging
Oh,
about.
wow.
Train deck, if you Eagle Booster yourself, you instantly lose. But yeah, so the Shizuku can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. Doesn't matter. Radiant comes down and he's like, hey
Exactly.
guys. And at this point, it's a case of, can Ping Xiao find game on board? He has a draw from his Time Thief Redoer. He has a bunch of
And the other different,
Phantom Knights left in there.
exactly. That's what I was about to say. The other difference with other Orcust deck is that he's still able to use the Rusty, which is something that is not so common.
It's,
He plays,
it's a very interesting direction to take the
Yeah.
deck.
he plays
So-
multiples Fog Blades, so
He's going to activate Shared Ride.
sure.
Not sure how relevant this will be here. If he draws hand traps, it could be relevant. He does have Reaper and he does have Boral Sword, so potentially he could thwart an attempt there.
Yeah.
But I think realistically what I'm aiming for here is summoning Trisbayana, clearing the back row, because we know there's an anchor there. Although we still have Nightmare Phoenix, so we can Nightmare Phoenix and then just clear the anchor, and then it's just a case of, can we find game on board? Which is always an interesting scenario, and it's kind of the issue with Striker at the moment.
And he
So we
does
see
get the
Ash.
Entrap, yeah.
The Ash on the Harp Power is pretty...
Which was
pretty
drawn by
frustrating.
the shared ride, so that's quite
That's skillful Yu-Gi-Oh,
yeah,
right?
skillful Yu-Gi-Oh, exactly.
But that's the kind of uncomfortable thing about playing Striker in the current format, is that if your opponent Kaijus you, you're kind of just hoping that they can't find
Yeah.
the pressure for you at that point.
I mean,
So-
worst. I mean, I don't know if I want to say. I regretted my thought as soon as I was about to say it. I was like, he can crash in like worst case scenario if he's desperate to clear the multi-roll with Panka drops, but he should be able. Okay, he does get.
Now
the
he can tribute
Phantom-
summon his
Yeah,
Breaker
exactly.
Drops.
Even yeah.
He's going to make a Break Sword here, and Break Sword's a really good card.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he'll get the effect, so he's getting to clear both his Kaiju if he wants and
Yeah.
the set card, or else he can clear the multi-roll and the Widow Anchor, both of which are good. Does he have any rank 4s left? I don't believe so.
It shouldn't be the case. Yeah.
Yeah. So he can't get value, but he can just pop his Fog Blade instead. There's no need to destroy the Break Sword
Yeah,
here.
I guess.
Although he can just pop the Break Sword so that he gets to summon out 2 monsters.
So
So Break Sword targeting
does
itself.
pop itself.
That's completely reasonable. And are we going to hit the multi-roll, or are we going to hit the Kaiju? The only punish for hitting the multi-roll and going for the Boral Sword OTK would be if Christos has cherries.
Mm-hmm.
Break Sword activates, summons back. If he has one more monster,
Sure.
he should be able to find game on board. But it's a really interesting thing with Striker is that it's such a powerful deck, but there are certain cards that your opponent can play, and you're literally just sitting there and saying, I hope I'm fine. If I get to my next turn, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so he is just attacking for damage, so that should not be sufficient
No,
on board there.
definitely.
He's going to
Okay. Yeah, it's
gonna link to summon a Phoenix, I assume. can destroy the multi-roll. Oh, he's going to unicorn? Yeah, okay, unicorn.
Yeah, unicorns instead.
So
'Cause he wants to
return
get
that
the
to your
draw.
deck, draw a card.
So he's gonna get the draw, he discards the connector.
And discarding the connector is fine.
Yeah.
You're not using it at this point in the game. Had he normal summoned?
Who?
Ping Xiao.
Yeah, he did one of the boots.
He could special both of them because he...
No, it's only one.
Oh, right.
Turn,
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
So he does get a draw. He gets the horror.
So this is the other frustrating thing when you play Sky Strikers. You just need Ray. That's all you want to see.
Yeah.
And if you don't see Ray, it's very sad time.
And instead he gets another multi-lore.
I mean, multi-roll is a great card. Jamming Waves, target your set card, things like sure. Clears the unicorn. But if he can't find a way to get a Ray on board, he's going to be in trouble. He's going to set Hornet Drones.
Yeah,
Hornet
the
Drones
thing is, you can chill for a little bit. That's
Yeah.
the thing. So you're
sure.
not dying immediately, but it's getting tougher and tougher.
Well, he unfortunately has no Widow Anchor in Graveyard. Ping still has a Phoenix, I believe, in his extra
Yeah,
deck.
he does.
So he can clear this multi-roll as well, which is unfortunate. We see Jackalope activating. And this is a part
And
of the deck we've not
also-
seen yet.
Yeah, now that he set up a Space Insulator in Grave, if he ever go for the Trees Baena, he just summons it back for free.
And
Yeah,
here the extra harp comes in handy.
the skill.
Yeah. Oh yeah, rolling well on your dangers is good life skills.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Among the top priorities.
Oh, he drew his symbols, or his skeleton. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're gonna link to
Into Phoenix,
Phoenix.
for sure.
Discard Pankratops. Targeting.
What did he set back?
He set Hornet Drones.
Okay.
And he is targeting the multi-roll, which I think is completely reasonable. Like, the drones is definitely activating, so you kind of have to hit that. So he is going to banish Harpar, and he is going to summon from his deck. He'll summon an Orcust Nightmare, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the only legal target left in the deck. I believe he's playing 2 Nightmare and 3 Harp. And this is the thing, because I think the other lists are playing like 2/1/1.
Yeah.
So you have multiple Nightmares because you need to summon it off
Mermaid.
Mermaid, or else you're
And
in a
now, as I was
pickle.
saying, Space Insulator synergy comes down, because when...
Yeah, and
you
Christos
summon-
says, yeah,
yeah.
that's game there.
So that was a convincing win from Ping.
Yeah.
We got to see again how good Orcust is, even though it didn't go as planned, because Christos had the Eagle booster to stop the rank up. And
Christos played that matchup perfectly.
yeah, he played very well, but unfortunately there was not much he could do.
Yeah.
And even though he got the Ash off the Shared Ride to stop the first Orcust push, it was just too much at the end of the day.
Exactly.
So looking at the side decks, do you think Christos still wants to go second? Or
I'm shotgunning first in this matchup as striker.
'Cause
I don't...
he let Ping go first in game 1, that's why.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely can do that, but you have Sanctums and you have Sight.
Yeah.
And that kills the deck really
That was
hard.
was about to say. Due to the side deck, he now is probably able to go first, and just Sanctum, we talked about how good it is with Weekend. And
I think if you're not familiar with the Orcust deck, then you're definitely wanting to go second against it. But when you're familiar with this build of Danger Orcust, I think you need to go first. If you can set up enough. The problem is, if you go first here and Pink Kaiju's you, like, you're still stuck Like, you're still struggling.
That's what I was saying. The problem is that you saw Kaijus in the main deck, so you can only expect that he's prepared even more after siding.
Yeah.
And we know that's the case because in the side deck he has even more Kaijus. He has the infamous magical mid-breaker field that we saw completely dominate Conti.
Yep.
And yeah.
Mid-breaker, we can actually see, is something that they added very last minute.
Exactly.
As in, I saw them queuing, and they were like, does anybody have mid-breakers?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the problem.
Absolutely. Twin Twisters as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's very well prepared against this matchup. And
I think it's the interesting thing with the Danger Orcust deck is that it has so many angles of attack that you're kind of struggling. You're like, well, which am I better giving it?
I agree.
And again, if you open well, you're probably fine either way.
Yeah, that's why I'm really liking this deck the more I see it. I mean, whatever version you want to play, it is still such a nice engine. It gives you a lot of freedom in the sense of you can play any engine that's pumps, and then you're still able to play Kaijus and whatever.
Yep.
So it's a really good deck.
I hear even Orcust Deskbot as a deck as well. So we are just waiting for them to get ready for game 2. Number S0. Oh, it's Black Ship of Coin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Ping is actually deciding, yeah, Black Ship.
I doubt he brings it in here, but there's certain matchups where it just lets you clear problem cards. We've not seen it in a few years, but
yeah,
it's a pretty good card.
It was one of the first jumps.
Yeah, exactly. The jump version looks really nice as well.
Anyway,
so we're drawing our opening hands. We see Sky Blaster, Twisters, Phantasmi.
And also Phantasm. Yeah, it looks like a really good hand.
Going first, going second, that hand looks fine. I'm excited to see what Christos has. I really, I'm on Striker. If I were playing this event, I'd be playing Pure because I think it's legitimately really strong still. I think it's much better than it was just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. And we see Sherrod Ride, so we can maybe assume that he is going.
I think this is
no,
still
this
the
is
previous
still the old
games.
one. Yeah. You're right. And the synergy is incredible between Phantasmai and the Sky Blaster, because you don't even have to rely on a danger hitting. If you have the Phantasmai, then you can just normal summon Sky Blaster and do whatever you want with it. Yeah. And the cool thing about the Orcust deck compared to the Thunder Dragon deck is that Sky Blaster alone is already the Orcust combo, because when you summon it, you get 1 token, and that's already a nightmare.
Exactly. And that's the crazy thing. So the entire Danger Orcust deck, this version, is built around the idea of having access to your 2-card nightmares.
Exactly.
Or your 1-card nightmares. So any card that generates you 2 cards on the field lets you do your full combo.
Yep.
So generally, the worst hands, it's 3 cards because you have 1 danger plus a normal summon. Okay, so we see Area 0. We're getting a Widow Anchor, which is really nice to pick up here.
Sure.
And we're sending Eagle Booster
away.
Phantasmi does make Widow Anchor a lot worse.
I think Phantasm, is one of those cards that it's so good in general, but against certain matchups, and in particular Sky Striker, is just game-winning almost. Because the first turn is the weakest turn for Sky Striker, so when you're up against a big body, which is also able to negate Widow Anchor, you're in trouble.
You want to link summon, says Ping Xiao. I'm going to summon my Fantastical Dragon, Phantasmi. He's not a normal dragon. He's fantastical. Fantastical's effect is really interesting because, I mean, we see here, he's able to add a Kaiju to his hand.
Yeah.
Which is, like, Kaijus are so impactful in this matchup. Christos isn't playing any counter trap cards from what I can see. Something that I've seen a lot of the lists playing is Solemn Strikes and similar. In this matchup, it's quite possible that Sanctum will be able to fill in and be more impactful than Strike. But Striker is almost forced to play these types of cards because of where the format is. Because if you get Kaiju'd, you're in a real tough spot.
And the good thing about Phantasmi is that even if the Sanctum is still a bigger body, so that's super good. So now Ping draws and he has all the tools that he needs because he has a Kaiju, a Twin Twisters, he has really good end.
Yeah.
So Sky Blaster we saw, so I don't think he could wish for a better end.
Sky Blaster plus Phantasmi are great friends.
Yeah,
so
that's what I was about, we commented before.
Yeah. And I mean, realistically, I'm thinking going into Top Logic Trisbayana here, or do you think it's better to just go straight into your Nightmare combos?
Trisbayana looks so good. That's the
Trisbayana
thing.
is-
It looks very good.
We have a Veiler.
But to be honest, the thing is we have the Twin Twister already,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't get too greedy. Because like if you can pop one with the Phoenix, then you Twin Twister the other ones, you just go for Border's
Yeah.
Word, sorry.
Yeah.
So I would prioritize on that, and Trisbayana might get a little clunky
Yeah.
if you want to go for Border's Word. So
So Ping is reading Phantasmi.
Yeah.
He's going to say, let's not have Veiler in the picture. And that's the power of Phantasmi. It's like, even if Ping
Exactly.
Xiao didn't have the Kaiju here, Phantasmi means that he would have been able to push his plays through.
yeah,
Because Widow Anchor is less impactful. And
and that's insane.
that's kind of the sort of arguments that make you question, am I better on Striker or am I better on Salaman if I'm wanting to play a control deck in
I
this
agree.
format? Because I think both are really strong. But if you're expecting loads of Phantasmes, then Striker becomes much worse.
Yeah, and we are seeing, like, the more we get to the latest round,
Yeah.
the more we see Phantasmi actually in the main deck. So we can expect to see a lot of them. And now, as we were saying, I think the play is just pop a back row, Twin Twister the other two, and just go for the Border's Word OTK.
Phoenix Twister
Yeah,
is quite enticing. If there's a Sanctum here, Ping is going to be in a big spot of fodder. Otherwise, I think that pretty much ends the game, right?
Yeah. But he actually discards the Twin Twisters. What do you think of that?
I don't know if he has enough cards in his hand to be
Do both.
willing to fully commit to the Twisters.
Okay, it's possible. And I mean, he should be able to get rid of a few anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I would Phoenix anything in that scenario though.
I mean, the Sanctum pop, though, doesn't really matter much, because, like, I'm pretty sure after Sky Blaster, he would have just flipped the Sanctum there to prevent any summon.
You'd think so, yeah. So there's probably not a Sanctum, but
And yeah, the scariest part is not the pop from Sanctum, it's the actual site. So.
it's the site, yeah. And here comes Mermage, and we are doing the classic.
Yeah.
Can I summon a Nightmare from my deck, please, sir? So do we have an Ash Blossom? Ash Blossom would be fantastic in this situation.
I
Okay,
don't
those
think-
are both spell cards. So.
Yeah.
So it's looking like Christos doesn't have much, unless he has a Called by the Grave. But he does not seem to be siding nor maining Called by. And it's kind of understandable. Like, again, I've been testing about with the deck, and I think it's really hard to call. Do you want to play Called by, or do you want to play Strikes in the spot?
Yeah.
Because they both hit different things. And when Called by resolves on cards in this format, it's backbreaking often. But
Agreed. It's not for every deck.
yeah.
Like,
And that's the thing. It's like Striker, you already have issues where you see hands that don't have Striker cards. And those are the tough hands. And so while Called by is really strong, it also doesn't say Sky Striker Ace Ray on it.
yeah.
Summon Sorceress?
Yeah, Ping is just going for the usual play, but on top of that, we don't have to forget that he discarded a Fog Blade,
Yes, exactly.
so he has an additional extender possible.
And when he makes the Redoer as well, he'll be able to... He can make Redoer, or else he can go for level 3s and make a Break Sword, but he'll get to pop back row den as well.
Exactly.
And it's just a testament to how strong and versatile the Orcust engine is. Like, this is a deck of 3 or 4 engines, but the Orcust engine is the one that we actually see coming into play again and again and again. So we see Symbol being shuffled back by Galatea, and he's getting his spell card from his deck. Again, the spell card generally doesn't do anything, but it's kind of nice to have.
Now he goes for the Rusty.
Yeah. And again, I think Rusty is probably the best link tree at the moment. Better than Summon Sorceress.
Yeah, it seems like it's so relevant. It's every combo deck, basically.
And he gets his Shade Brigadine. He does have a trap card in grave, but he can banish it.
Yeah.
Because he just sent a Phantom Knight monster from his deck to grave.
Exactly. And that's to showcase how many synergies there are in this deck.
And here is a scenario where we see the weakness of Summon Sorceress in this deck.
Yeah.
So Summon Sorceress isn't really getting you any more value, whereas the Phantom Knights monster is able to just generate advantage turn after turn after turn.
Sure.
Okay, so he's going to draw 2 cards, sending his wand to the graveyard. And again, it's a case, he's just looking for game here.
Exactly. Now, as you said, he's able to banish Fogblade if he wants to use Brigadine, and that's what he's going for. So he summon back the Cloak. He can use the 800 boost as well.
Yeah. Yeah, Cloak's effect to increase the attack of a monster is
it's actually relevant.
randomly relevant. The cute thing you can do is you boost your opponent's Kaiju, and then you Boral Sword to gain damage.
True. So he still has the Brigadine set. We know he still has the Rusty Pop as well, so looking really good for him.
Yeah, this game is looking pretty close to done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just love seeing decks like this. I'm a person, like, again, I'm playing Striker.
Yeah.
I love my decks that are very cohesive, but I love seeing these kind of mishmash Frankenstein decks where you just get all these cool engines and you just put all your favorite cards together. And you're just like, I'm just going to make loads of Boral Swords.
Okay, and he does have a second Twister. That's why he discarded one at the beginning.
That makes sense.
He's just going to use it now. And
it's an anchor, and it looked like an
you
Eagle
can see
Boosters.
Christos is smiling because he knows what's coming. And
it's big, it's red,
yeah.
It's covered in swords. Summoning Space Insulator. We cannot summon it there.
yeah,
Okay,
because there is Rusty. It doesn't really matter. I mean, he's going to go either way for Bottomless Word.
Yeah.
He just goes for the Insulator in case something weird happens.
Yeah, exactly. Gores
And
could be a card. That's game.
Christos gives the handshake. Nice win for Ping. He takes it 2-0 convincingly with his deck. So let's just talk about it in the post-match discussion.
So
wow, that was incredible. I mean, I'm even more in love with Orcust. I can't lie. I can't lie.
It is the standout deck for the event, I think. People went in, it topped Chicago. We thought it was like an interesting deck, a curiosity, and we're seeing that the engine, both here and in the Dark Warrior match, it's just doing so much work.
It is.
And again, this is the matchup that when I was talking to Ping when he was testing the deck, it was a matchup where they were like, oh, we think this is kind of 50-50, or it's a tough matchup. And just convincingly, once you have a Kaiju, Kaijus are insanely powerful.
Kaijus are really good this format. And yeah, as you said, this is probably the weirdest matchup for the deck. It should destroy his other decks like Salomon Great. And it's looking really convincing to me. As I said, it was my favorite walking into the event. I would probably play something similar. Not sure if this or more like Dinka, but the more I see the engine, the more I'm falling in love with it. There is so much to exploit about the deck, so I'm sure there are even other players in the event trying something different with it.
It's such an easy deck to build. You have rares, commons, and supers.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, that's your engine.
Yeah.
It's crazy good. It's super accessible, and you can just throw it into anything and test it out.
But yeah, neither of these players are, of course, out. They're running really well at the event. I'm sure we will see even more of them. But congratulations to Ping for winning the match, and let's see what he has to say.
Yes.
Here we are. We can hear him live what he has to say. We got Ping Xiao on the main event stage. Just won his feature match, and he looks a little bit relieved. So how are you feeling right now?
I'm very relieved. I was very nervous during that match.
Yeah, I mean, Christos is one of the best players actually in the venue. He's been at the top card a couple of times. So what was it like playing against him in the feature match?
It was nerve-wracking. I know Chris' records very well, so when I at the start said 50-50, I didn't mean 50-50. It was depending on what Chris was playing, it might have been in his favor. Then when he won the Dyro, let me go first. That's when I got really scared.
Yeah, so that definitely worked out for him. But in the end, what were the matches, the games like? Did you have a good start in the first game?
I had a fantastic start to the first game. I was able to put 2 monsters on the board, and then I saw Chris's hand. And when I saw he had no interruption to my play, I was able to perform my entire combo while knowing the exact cards in Chris's hand to try and counterplay him. So, to be honest, Chris' opening hand was very weak.
Right. So, and actually, I remember Marcello now saying that when he saw the opening hands, he was like, "Oh, this seems like almost like a foregone conclusion. This is looking really, really good for you, basically."
I got lucky there. Well, Chris got unlucky there.
Okay, yeah, that's one way to put it. Right, so you win the first game. You've seen his hand, so of course you have some information about what he's playing. What is your strategy after that first game when you're going to the side deck?
So the strategy coming to side deck is step 1, kaiju his monster. Step 2, destroy his continuous flug with Twin Twister. Step 3, perform normal combo. And as part of my normal combo, destroy all his back row. And then finish off with the Boros or OTK.
That's pretty much what happened, right? So you were basically laying out that plan in your head, and in the end, all the pieces fell into place.
Exactly. That's what the deck does, and that's why I'm really enjoying the deck.
So how surprised are you about this? I mean, obviously, it's one of the consistent decks, but did you think that everything would basically be working like this, like a well-oiled machine?
I didn't think it was going to work out this well, to be honest.
Right.
But my opening hand in the second game was very strong. The Phantasme allowed me to find a second kaiju, which just means I had more monsters on board if I needed more monsters.
Right. So now you are already in day 2. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What is going to be your strategy from now on? Are you still playing it safe? You're still taking it one game at a time, or are you already shooting for the stars now?
There's still 5 rounds left, and it's going to be some of the 5 toughest rounds going forward. Next round, everyone's still XO. I can't look that far. I have to look at the next round.
Right. What is your evening strategy? Because I've seen some players going for some crazy rituals after that day 1 of a YCS. Well, what is your recommendation when it comes to that? How do you make sure that tomorrow you're going to be at the top of your game again?
Food, shower, sleep.
Okay, so nothing special after that. It's just those 3 things, and then you don't want to go crazy.
Definitely not tonight.
All right. So that's some advice from a YCS champion, in fact. So you should definitely take that under consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, always a pleasure. So we would love to have you back, maybe tomorrow in the top cut.
I will hope so. Thank you.
All right, guys. So that is it. Round number 7 is in the books. Our timer is actually saying, yes, this is time in the round. So we basically just finished those 40 minutes. The main event is 11 minutes in overtime. Speaking from experience, that means we need like 20 more minutes to pair the next round. We have actually talked to some players, grabbed them right after their rounds, and talk to them about strategy on the one hand, and also what's been their experience like here at the event. And we had some interesting takes that we're basically now in the editing room, in the cutting room. Our dedicated volunteers, or staffers rather, are on that, and we're going to bring you those hot takes a bit later. So you're also going to see some strategy of what can make the difference between going like something like 4 wins and then you're dropping out of the YCS, and what is the key to basically advancing to day 2 with a perfect record or with an almost perfect record. So that's some of the stuff you can look forward to. That's going to be coming in the coverage in the future. We also have some other stuff planned, like the mini games. We're going to bring those back this weekend in a slightly different way, and we even do some giveaways on the stage. Maybe not today because it's all a bit crowded in here with so many players, but we're going to do that tomorrow. So there's lots and lots to look forward to, guys. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back with our coverage from YCS Düsseldorf 2009.